down against Hikaru Nakamura here in just a moment. So we said it before the round started. These guys had 50 classical battles, now 51 including today. And here, I don't know how many Armageddon battles they've had, but they've had a lot of rapid and blitz, and they know how to move those pieces.
They sure know, and I think we need to jump straight into the game where, just as a reminder on the format, Fabi has 3 minutes more on the clock. He starts with 10 minutes against Hikaru's 7 minutes, but Hikaru has draw odds with the black pieces. So in case of a draw, it counts as a victory for Hikaru. And yeah, what can we tell about the opening, David?
Wow.
Are you surprised?
First of all, some huge mind games, because Hikaru actually played this slightly dubious branch of the Sicilian against Fabiano at the Candidates tournament. It had a terrible reputation until Nakamura revived it. He was worse in that game. He was actually almost losing at some point, held the draw. I believe that was at the beginning, round one of the Candidates. So interesting that he would repeat here, Danny. Mind games already.
Yeah, mind games, maybe hoping that it would be unexpected from a preparation standpoint. We see Fabi is thinking a little bit, but look, this is going to be a 3-result position. So if you're Fabiano Caruana, you're happy about that, right? Because you're going to get some crazy chess in these Sveshnikovs. The light squares are a mess. Both sides have action they can play for, really on both sides of the board. So that's what the Sicilian's all about. This is going to be a wild one.
I certainly think he's happy for the type of position, but he is using a bit more time than what he normally would have if it wasn't for the surprise. So I think Hikaru did manage to start chipping some of Fabi's time advantage away.
Magnus Carlsen-esque there, David, right? Magnus also managed to play an opening that got Dingley Wren kind of thinking and threw him off. It was in English. If you missed that, again, shame on you. But it was an epic game that Magnus found a way to draw comfortably with black. Will Hikaru kind of do the same thing here, David? What are your thoughts about that last move?
Yeah, bishop e3, very logical move. There's now pressure, however, on the white central pawn, so big decision needs to be made. Do you just play a move like pawn to f3? I was going to say bishop f3, maybe the other main option, but the bishop slightly clumsy on this square. The white knight now, after this last move, shut down. Really classical approach here, g6, just keeps the white knight's jumping points under watchful gaze. So yeah, I was going to say there's two strategies in Armageddon, especially when you're black. One is you play super solid, kind of correct chess, where you maybe play the Berlin or something like that, and you allow your opponent to rattle out 25 moves of theory, but you know fundamentally you're solid. Or you play something like this, which is really double-edged, but hope that you're slightly quicker than your opponent. And Magnus, Hikaru, they're both going for it today.
Interesting to see that they prefer the slightly more dubious or riskier, more dynamic variations when all they need is a draw. At the same time, it's for what you mentioned also about the mind games, the memories from the Candidates tournament where Hikaru did win their mini match, 1.5-half against Fabiano. So, h5 is now on the board, pointing out that the g3 knight is going to be tickled with h4 and have to go back.
Yeah, here comes Harry.
I was going to say, and if it does, then e4 falls, right? The knight gets tickled, and the pawn suffers the consequences if it has to retreat. I'm liking Hikaru's approach here. We talked about similar to Magnus. I love how you just quickly highlighted Grandmaster knowledge over here from David Howell, that there are really two approaches the top players have these days in Armageddon. Play a bunch of theory, where you know you can buckle down, but you don't really get any time off your opponent's clock, because they also know. Or go immediately into something like this to try to get it back into a closer game. We see that White's time edge is dwindling in every moment. So I think that was just accidental knowledge drop by a grandmaster there. Not that everyone else is playing high-stakes Armageddon chess at home, but I think it's true. That's basically what you see, and you see Hikaru and Magnus both following that plan here, mixing it up early.
Exactly. As the feature chat says, risky variation, but ultimately,
you just described it, yep.
Yeah, you might get a chance to force the issue a bit later on. Why not save a bit of time, surprise the opponent, surprise worth a minute or two at this top level. And yeah, everything's turned out great for black. I think Fabiano, maybe influenced by that Candidates game and how forcing it was, the nature of it, he's gone into a slower maneuvering position, but that favors Hikaru. Knight d4 incoming. This bishop really looking awkward on the f3 square. h4 is just lingering in the air here. Black's plans are easy.
Yeah, this is looking already better for Hikaru. The evaluation bar agrees with it too. He only needs a draw, but he probably is playing for a win. He has gone into the classical game with that confidence that he's got it. Fabi, maybe he's one of his favorite opponents nowadays. He has had really good results against Fabi, and he's doing the same now. He's really confident and going for a dubious, risky variation, but it's paying off.
Well, look at the clock, right? I mean, Hikaru's going to have more time than Fabiano, even though he gambited, sacrificed 3 minutes at the start of the Armageddon. And David, you said this when they started the classical game. Hikaru got a great position out of the opening, and he's done that how many times in a row now against Fabiano? I don't know what's going on in their preparation, the styles. Hikaru and shout out to his second, working super hard, Chris. Like, maybe they have dialed into something, because I feel like I'm having a deja vu the last 5 or 6 times these guys have played. Whether Hikaru won or not, Hikaru is getting comfortable positions out of the opening against Fabiano Caruana a lot right now.
And he always gets a time advantage. He's always in a position that he understands or has studied before, as you say, Danny. I think Fabiano's opponents need to kind of take a leaf out of Hikaru's books. In future. He's always towing the line as well between these risky variations, but ones that he knows well that if his opponents don't punish him, that he can work in his favor. And yeah, knight d4 is just
It's coming.
guaranteed next move pretty much. h4. I mean, I say these two moves consistently because what's white going to do against either of them? It's unclear.
And it's already a minute time advantage for Hikaru, who started 3 minutes down on the clock. So Hikaru better on the board, better time-wise, and he only needs a draw.
I have nothing to add. You guys have said all the good and the smart things, so I'm just agreeing at this point.
Sorry, Danny.
The knight will come to d4. Okay, the rook has now gone to d1, but it's going to happen, and there it is. Hikaru doesn't need a lot of time to do it. Knight
F5?
in the world? Okay,
What?
I'm going to call human on this. Oh my God, Fabiano
placed
played
it!
it! I was about to say, there's no way Fabiano finds that. He does, and it's a brilliant response.
Oh my
To Hikaru's
gosh.
knight d4. What in the bleep?
Hikaru missed it, and Fabiano finds it in the blink of a moment, just like... I mean,
David.
I couldn't even say a word. He already played the move.
Show the people why. You can't take the knight because of the checkmate. I mean, we have to show it real quick, even if on the small board. If you take the knight, queen g5 and queen g7 is checkmate. So this is the reason it's brilliant, everybody, fundamentally, is it is a knight sacrifice that cannot be taken. Hikaru takes the other way. All right, now we can come back. I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, we come back to the live position. I think he found it out of necessity, Fabiano. Otherwise, he was just busted.
Okay.
And I think he was looking after h4. Knight f5 would still have landed. There were still some tactics in the air. So really clever spot from Fabi there, turning the tide completely. And now it's just anyone's game. He's going to recapture this bishop. He reached for something else, maybe just adjusting a piece there. He's going to retake the bishop on f3, surely, and open g-file. Yes, it's a triple stack. The white f-pawns look ugly, but it's not about pawn structure at all. It's just about attacks. And
Yeah, I think our board is slightly behind the camera, so he already took on f3, and then he played bishop g5. Fabiano, we might just need to update our board.
There we go.
There we go.
And yeah, live position. So he has recaptured. Black's king looks open. I think suddenly it's easier to play Fabiano's position.
Yeah, a lot has changed, and it looked like Hikaru had everything under control, better position, more time on the clock, but 94 seems to be... It was an inaccuracy, if not a mistake, allowing knight f5.
What a wild turn there. I mean, I still think if you're thinking about the position from a draw odds perspective, it's not the worst. But you're right, the open king and the d-pawn, no, this has become... So shout out to Fabiano there, who kind of like lost the thread of the opening, David, but then laid a little bit of a trap there for knight to d4 to come with this knight f5 he had spotted.
Yeah, he's a world-class player for a reason.
Yeah.
Fabiano, but that's so sharp. I think the reason we weren't so sure from a human perspective is because of the Armageddon time format. Give him half an hour, Fabio will find that every time, but he spotted it instantly.
Instantly.
Super impressive, Anna.
Very impressive. And it's still anyone's game, but Fabiano with chances to play for a win from a position that didn't look like he had any chances to play for a win.
I love how fast Hikaru took that pawn, though. The time edge dwindled away. He didn't blink or, as they say, deer in the headlights in the face of danger. He just grabbed that pawn and backed up. Not that this position isn't still a crazy 3 result. That knight on d5, that is a unicorn, a beast of an animal right there, controlling the board. And if the rook slides over... By the way, bishop g5 is a threat, so Fabi has to do something. But yeah, this is going to be so wild.
Yeah, I think Fabiano might have missed bishop g5. I think he was relying on knight c7 jumping in, forking, but Yeah, Hikaru, like you said, taking that pawn instantly because he realizes strategically he's suffering here. You might as well suffer for something. And at least black has a pawn advantage. King h7, he'll hide the king out there. And game goes on. Fabi, though, lower on the clock. That could be decisive now.
It could be decisive, and the only way to get the pawn back is that he needs to trade that beautiful knight for the not-so-beautiful bishop and then take on d6. I don't think he wants to do that.
Yeah, he plays rook g3, but that's exactly what any of us would have played, right? It puts pressure on g6, renews the threat of knight c7 as a fork. But as you said, David, black is up a pawn, and Hikaru is up on time. So if he finds the accurate moves and keeps holding on here, Fabi's going to be really under pressure.
Ooh,
Bishop h4, and the rook went back to g2. The computer does not like it.
Fabi does have one threat, and that's to drive the white queen into the heart of black's position, queen h6. So, to my eyes, the most obvious would be to prevent that. Hikaru does indeed stop that move. Really nice play, I've got to say. Hikaru again. Just the way Danny, especially his blitz, bullet exploits, he's always coordinated. He's always got everything protected. He seems to be in control of the tactics.
It's like he's been here before. As you said, fast time controls are kind of Hikaru's jam, a confident swig of water. They say a chess player only drinks water when they're confident. But no, it's true. He manages and coordinates. He's played a lot of chess games under time pressure, but okay. Fabi also a world-class player, but you get the feeling he knows. All right, I've got 2.5 minutes with not a lot of help coming. This game might not even reach move 40.
It might not.
If we get blunders, yeah. So Fabi really wants to come up with something now.
Mm-hmm. We are mentioning move 40 because that's when the increment will start from move 41 onwards, but this is only move 27 with 2 minutes for Fabiano left. That's 2 minutes with no increment, no bonus, nothing.
And he spent 1 whole minute on this move. That's a third of his time he spent right here, right now. So he has to go for something. The longer this game goes on, him being a pawn down, Fabiano, I think the more hopeless it will become. But what is that something? I don't see it.
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard to find a move.
Feels like it went wrong with the rook going to g2, but I don't find it obvious at all why that was a mistake. He had to put the rook elsewhere, maybe to h3 to attack the bishop, but it just doesn't seem clear at all.
I agree, but I like this. I like this move, and I want to bring us back because I realize maybe we have a little bit of engine bias because we see the eval bar creeping in black's favor, and of course, objectively, we can all analyze these games for hours later. Black, I'm sure, is. Oh, but Hikaru finds the best engine move, e4. I was just about to say, but the human has to solve the problem of the knight coming to e4. You know what Hikaru does? He's like, I got you, Danny, e4. Like, actually, this is how black maintains the edge.
See, we don't like to refer to the engine, but they play like engines.
These guys
seems.
do. This is looking better and better for Hikaru.
Oh,
Sorry, David, go ahead.
Queen f3 now.
Look at this. If the queens are exchanged, white's rook on g2 is trapped. And white is getting mated on the back rank in variations.
Ouch.
Oh, wow. Hikaru, the blue arrow appears again. He just needs to trade off white's most active piece, rook to d8. Some calculation is needed there because there's stuff happening on g6 around the black king. But white's back rank is vulnerable. Rook to d8. The reason the blue arrow exists is because then queen takes queen and a rook into d1 would just be checkmate. Wow. If Hikaru finds this, he wins.
Agreed.
I think he's about to make the move.
Yep.
I thought he was just going to touch the rook in the corner.
A subtle lean. Hikaru Nakamura number 4. The subtle lean and slide, and he does it. According to the computer, there's some sort of win here potentially on the spot, but at this point, David already highlighted the point, everybody. White can never take on f3 because the pawn takes, and that rook is trapped. So black is in complete control here. Fabiano hanging by a thread. Hikaru is probably an accurate move or two away from Fabiano resigning.
Yeah, white can barely move. You can never even take on e4 because rook to d1 will always land a mate. Queen back. He's trying to come in. And
d2.
Queen trade.
But Fabiano quickly... Okay.
The squeeze is...
The
grip has gotten a bit looser now with a bit more space for white's pieces.
Oh, he's trying to repeat.
That's a funny move there. That's Hikaru flexing on the format right there. That says a draw is a win for black in Armageddon, Fabi, which is funny. We get all excited if you see the eval bar creep up if you're a Fabi fan, but then they go back to f3 and go, yeah, probably the best move is just to repeat, and that's not something that's tenable in the format. Black wins on a draw.
Hikaru's shaking his head. What does that tell us, Danny?
I think Hikaru maybe knows queen f4 was a slight inaccuracy. You could tell from that, but he also still knows that he's better.
And if white's reduced to playing moves like pawn to h3, it's a pretty sad situation.
Oh, it's sad, it is.
Okay, but how to close it out? Rook to d6 protects everything. White is stuck. That's the big problem here, Danny.
Just highlight that the knight can't take e4. If knight takes, rook to d1 is checkmate or large amounts of material. And if you take with the queen, similarly, the rook goes to d1 first, and then if the knight recaptures, the queen is lost on e4. So just so everyone may be staring at that pawn going, what's going on here? Some of you viewers still watch this straight up and aren't just watching with an engine, judging like an armchair engine quarterback. But there you go. So that's the reason why white is stuck and why Fabiano is about to get under 30 seconds.
Stuck on time as well. This is now a bullet game. There's no increment until they complete move 40. They are move 34 at the moment, so Fabi really has to make a move.
20 seconds. He brings his rook back to g1. I thought he was actually going to try and run with his king towards the corner, then opening up ideas of taking the e4 pawn, but Hikaru shakes his head or frowns.
But where's the win for black? I'm like, okay, he plays a5. What a move, because now b4 is a threat. And if the knight moves, rook d1 is mate.
Yeah, it seems like b4 is unstoppable. And if you push the knight away, there's no longer any defense for white.
Ooh, Fabi was shaking his head. Desperation now. He's got to try and keep his knight on that square, but it's suddenly loose. Any check is going to be checkmate in the back rank.
Is rook a6 any check that's good enough?
I was looking at the rook lift as well. It looks like you just come in through the a file and the knight can no longer prevent it. The knight is guarding the d1 square, but it cannot prevent you from going to a1.
Hikaru backs
F6?
up. What's his idea?
Wait.
Oh, okay, but it's...
Oh no, but now rook d1.
And he wins, though. There must have been some crazy idea there. We'll have to check it. But from a pressure perspective, from a human perspective, that human being got it done with black. Hikaru Nakamura is our second winner in the men's section, joining Magnus Carlsen. Got the job done.